You know, when you think about the basic premise of a war, right? Like, there's usually an expectation of geography.
Right, a physical battlefield.
Yeah, exactly. You look at a map, you see the trenches, and you mark the borders. A general just points at a ridge and says, take that hill.
Because it's spatial. It is grounded in this very physical, undeniable reality.
Right. But then you step into the reality of a time war, and suddenly that map is just completely useless.
Oh, completely. Because, I mean, when you're fighting across millennia, taking a physical hill doesn't actually matter. Not if your enemy can just travel back a century and ensure the tectonic plates never form that hill in the first place.
And that is the exact flavor of tactical absurdity we are getting into today. So welcome to this custom deep dive, crafted entirely for you.
It's a really fun one today.
It really is. If you've been following the sci-fi landscape, you already know our subjects today. We're talking about Red and Blue, the two rival time-traveling agents from the novella. This is how you lose the time war.
Such an incredible text.
Oh, it's brilliant. We are unpacking a massive stack of excerpts to explore how these two elite killers essentially stop fighting for their factions and start fighting for each other.
Yeah. And our mission today is to analyze the actual mechanics of that relationship. We're looking at how this lethal game of interdimensional cat and mouse slowly, almost imperceptibly, turns into a profound rebellion against the very creators they serve.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to understand the rebellion, we really have to look at the architecture of the war they are rebelling against.
It's the factions.
Exactly. So we know Red belongs to the agency, which is your classic, high-tech, cyborg-driven, mechanistic dystopia. It's ruled by the Commandant.
And then Blue belongs to Garden, which is the complete biological opposite. It's this viney, organic hive mind.
Right. But I want to dig into how they actually fight this war, because, I mean, they aren't just clashing big armies together, right?
No, not at all. Large-scale clashes are entirely off the table. They travel what they call up-thread into the past and down-thread into the future.
It's like moving along a braid of time.
Exactly. The combat is almost entirely based on these tiny micro-adjustments. Causal ripples.
Right, and this is where I kind of start questioning the efficiency of their whole operation.
Yeah.
Like, in the text, Red spends an entire decade infiltrating Genghis Khan's Mongol horde.
A full 10 years?
Yeah. She lives as a man, she rides with them, sleeps in the freezing snow for a decade. And what is the strategic objective? Just to ensure a specific patch of trees gets cut down to build siege engines.
Right. Or in another timeline, she goes to a sinking Atlantis literally just to save a single mathematician.
Exactly. And meanwhile, Blue is breeding airborne malware in a temple of cyborg pilgrims, or, altering the precise outcome of a 19th century seal hunt.
It sounds completely random.
It does. And I have to push back on this tactic. Like, spending 10 years freezing in a tent just to get some wood chopped down. Is that actually a sensible way to wage a multidimensional war?
I mean, on the surface, no.
Right. Because to me, it sounds like an incredible waste of an elite asset's time. How does a patch of trees equal a military victory?
Well, it sounds absurd until you understand the underlying mechanism of causal ripples. They aren't actually fighting for the trees.
They aren't.
No, they are fighting for the butterfly effect those trees generate. So if the Mongols cut down that specific patch of wood, perhaps the timber is slightly weaker.
Oh, I see.
Right, and because it's weaker, the siege engine fails to breach a specific city wall a year later. Because the city stands, a specific bloodline survives.
Wow. Oh.
And then, 500 years later, an heir of that bloodline invents a hyperdrive engine that the agency desperately needs for a down-thread offensive.
So it's literally a high-stakes game of interdimensional dominoes.
Exactly.
You nudge one tiny piece in the past, and it causes this very specific avalanche centuries later.
Precisely. The supercomputers at the agency and the hive mind of Garden, they're just constantly calculating the exact mass of the pebble needed to create a tidal wave down-thread.
That is wild.
And to your point about efficiency, they operate this way because they absolutely have to. The physics of their reality dictates it. Direct confrontation is essentially forbidden by causality.
Wait, forbidden how? Like, is it against the rules of engagement?
No, not rules. It's physically catastrophic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if Red and Blue just pull out plasma rifles and start shooting at each other in the 19th century, the paradoxical energy of that conflict causes what they call ambient chaos.
Ambient chaos.
Yeah, it's essentially temporal radiation. It unravels the very timeline they are trying to conquer. If you destroy the thread, Neither side can use it.
So it's mutually assured destruction.
Exactly. So this war is a zero-sum game of chaotic possibilities. They have to weave subtle changes. And, the tragedy here is that this isn't a strategic game of chess where someone eventually achieves checkmate.
What is then?
It's a game of tic-tac-toe, endlessly iterated, constantly played to a draw. Every single move is perfectly countered.
Oh, man. And that endless draw just leads to a profound, inescapable stagnation for both factions.
Perfectly said.
And since they can't shoot each other without unraveling reality itself, they are forced into this bizarre shadow dance.
Yes.
They're constantly tracing each other's invisible footsteps through history. If blue leaves a footprint, red is literally the only one in the universe who can see the pressure of the heel.
Which is perfectly logical given their skill levels.
Right. Which explains how they start communicating, leading to what might be the most fascinating part of the text, the steganography.
Oh, the hidden writing?
Yes. The impossibly creative, literally physics-defying methods they use to send letters to one another. I mean, you look at the first exchange.
It gets the tone perfectly.
It really does. Red has just destroyed an entire planet. She's walking through the ashes, and she finds a cream-colored piece of paper that just says, "Burn before reading."
Which is such a great twist on the old spy trope.
Yeah. She burns it, and the chemical composition of the smoke, or the flames, spills out a letter from blue.
It's a brilliant opening volley. And then Red's reply is even more complex.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Blue finds the response encrypted in the randomized boiling bubbles of a jar of water left inside an evacuated 21st century MRI machine.
It's just staggering.
Yeah.
And from there, the complexity escalates to a degree that is almost hard to comprehend. Blue spends a century growing a message into the literal rings of trees for Red to find.
A whole century.
Yeah. Red strings bones together in a subterranean labyrinth, so the wind whistling through them plays a message in a specific acoustic frequency.
And it gets weirder.
Blue leaves a letter inside the stomach of an undigested cod inside a seal in the 19th century. Red encodes a message in the knot code of ink and reeds.
My personal favorite is when Blue leaves a message in an owl pellet.
An owl pellet. And Red delivers an entire letter using the genetic sequence of just 6 sumac seeds.
Which is, frankly, the ultimate application of steganography.
Right. We should define that for a second.
Yeah, so the term refers to the practice of hiding a message inside something else so that the very existence of the message is a secret.
So it's different from encryption.
Exactly. With encryption, the enemy sees a scrambled code. They know a message is there. With steganography, the enemy doesn't even know a message exists in the first place.
But, the operational security required to pull that off, you're talking about being monitored by multidimensional hive minds and an omniscient commandant.
Which is exactly why the methods have to be so extreme. If a commandant drone scans an Incan knot, it just registers as a historical artifact.
Right. Nothing to see here.
Exactly. It takes the specific perceptual framing of the rival agent to recognize the anomaly that actually reveals the letter.
But again, I have to play the skeptic here.
Go for it.
I am amazed by the sheer artistic effort, obviously. But I really question the logic of highly disciplined killers behaving this way. In the text, Red explicitly calls leaving physical evidence an asset-destroying breach of protocol.
It absolutely is.
So if either of their bosses finds out, it's instant execution. Isn't a century-long letter grown into tree rings just an enormous operational liability? Aren't they just flexing on each other?
Well, what's fascinating here is that they are definitely flexing on each other, but we have to ask why they are flexing.
Okay, why?
It's not born of arrogance. It's born of a deep, crushing isolation. Think about the psychological reality of their existence.
Right.
Red and blue are the sharpest tools in the universe, but to their factions, they are still just tools. They are the only two beings in existence who can truly appreciate each other's artistry. The medium literally becomes the message here.
Okay, explain that. How is an owl pellet the message?
Because the extreme, ridiculous difficulty of the communication proves their mutual respect.
Oh, I see.
It takes an incredible amount of time, patience, and temporal manipulation to encode a letter into sumac seeds. When Blue finds that, the very medium tells her, I risked everything and I spent a lifetime of effort just so you could read this.
Wow. It's the ultimate validation.
Exactly.
Because no one else would even notice. The agency and Garden just want the timeline secured. They don't care about the poetry of the execution.
They couldn't care less.
Only Blue sees the art in Red's destruction, and only Red sees the grace in Blue's cultivation. But I mean, that level of intimacy in a system built on absolute conformity has to start fraying their programming, right?
No, completely.
You can't exchange century-long soul-bearing letters without it fundamentally changing your identity.
It absolutely frays their programming. The rivalry evolves into love by awakening individual desires that their respective factions have spent millennia trying to suppress.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, let's look at the mechanics of Blue's faction, Garden. As a creature of a biological hive mind, she is supposed to be entirely subsumed by the collective.
Right, what do they call it? They sink and swell together.
Exactly. But the text reveals a crucial anomaly in Blue's past. When she was a child, in a timeline called Strand 141, she was temporarily severed from the garden hive mind due to enemy action.
And that severed connection completely broke her perspective, didn't it?
It left a permanent psychological scar. In that terrifying isolation, she experienced a profound hunger, a primal emptiness. Because she knows what it feels like to be cut off, she is different from every other agent in Garden. She writes to Red about loving the anonymity of cities, the distinct feeling of being apart from the whole.
And that hunger is what makes her receptive to Red's letters in the first place.
Exactly.
And then, if we look at Red, her transformation is equally drastic, but kind of in the opposite direction.
Right. Completely inverted.
Red comes from this hyper-efficient, disembodied cloud society. In the agency, the concept of eating physical food is viewed as this gross biological inefficiency. You just absorb nutrients in a pod or run off a battery.
But then she starts changing.
Heavily influenced by Blue's visceral organic letters, Red starts seeking out sensory experiences.
She starts anchoring herself to the physical world.
Yes, she goes to a diner and eats blueberry pancakes with extra butter just to feel the texture.
She literally eats glass at one point.
Yes, just to taste the minerals in the sand. She starts reading physical books about birds, not for tactical data, but just to learn their names.
It's beautiful.
It is. So looking at these transformations, I have a theoretical question for you.
Sure, let's hear it.
Does being the perfect agent for your side actually require you to be a deviant? Like, are Red and Blue only the absolute best at their jobs because they are fundamentally broken parts of their systems?
That is the central paradox of their existence. Both Garden and the agency demand absolute adherence to the system.
Right.
Garden through biological assimilation, the agency through technological conformity. But the algorithms and the hive minds lack imagination.
Oh, that makes sense.
Red and Blue are the most lethal agents because they can think outside those rigid parameters. Their deviance is their tactical advantage.
But that same deviance means they crave a context outside their assigned factions.
Exactly.
That would be a context for you. That line from Red to Blue just crushes me.
It's incredible. It's the core of the rebellion. They don't just want to win the time war anymore. They want to be seen, truly individually seen, by an equal.
But, you know, a desire for individual context is a massive threat to a machine that runs on conformity. And of course, when two cogs start communicating, the machine eventually notices.
Which brings us to the devastating climax of the narrative.
The trap.
The system steps in to correct the anomaly.
Right. Garden catches on first. They warn Blue. They tell her she's getting sloppy, that she is too fond of signing her work.
And on the other side, the Commandant discovers Red's emotional compromise.
Yeah. And based on the excerpts, the Commandant doesn't just pull Red into a sterile boardroom to reprimand her. Where does this confrontation happen?
It happens in an incredibly grim, blood-soaked World War II Russian field office.
It's brutal.
The Commandant corners Red in the middle of a brutal timeline. Now, the Commandant knows Blue has been interacting with Red, but she assumes Blue is just trying to groom an agency asset.
Right, she doesn't realize the depth of it.
She doesn't realize Red is already completely in love.
Yeah.
So the Commandant leverages her authority. She explicitly orders Red to create a steganographic poison to assassinate Blue.
Ugh. She turns their secret language into a murder weapon.
It's incredibly cruel.
Red is trapped. She spends days in a sterile lab brewing this deadly plant seed. And the mechanics of it are horrifying. It's a genetically modified cross between hemlock and yew with these vibrant, evil red berries.
But Red is still the master of steganography.
She is. So deep inside the biological code of the poison, beneath the surface message, she hides a final, desperate, true letter. She begs Blue not to read it. She warns her it's a trap.
But we know Blue's character.
We do.
Blue receives the plant while posing as an apothecary's apprentice in Elizabethan England. She decodes the surface message, which is a fake invitation to meet. and she instantly realizes the biological structure is a lethal poison.
Shows exactly what it is.
She knows the berries will kill her.
But she eats them anyway.
Well, she eats them anyway.
She deliberately chooses to die by Red's words, rather than live in a universe without them. The text describes her experiencing this excruciating pain, her cellular structure literally breaking down, just so she can reach the true letter hidden inside the poison's code.
It's such a heavy moment.
And then Red arrives. She breaks protocol, rushes to the apothecary shop, but she's too late. She finds Blue's body.
Yeah.
She takes Blue's final letter, which is sealed with a literal drop of blood, and she goes on the run. The universe is burning around her. Garden and the agency are hunting her down, and Red stands on a cliff at the end of the world. And this is where she realizes something crucial about the weapon she built.
She realizes the poison was genetically targeted by the Commandant to kill an agent of Garden. It exploits Garden's specific biology. It won't work on an agent of the agency.
And this leads to what I can only describe as hacking the universe's source code at the very last second.
Yes, this part is brilliant.
Red swallows the blood seal on Blue's letter. She takes Blue's DNA, her essence, into herself, and she jumps off the cliff, traveling all the way back up Thread. She goes deep into Garden's territory, straight to Strand 141.
Blue's childhood.
Exactly. The exact moment young Blue was mysteriously cut off from Garden. Red kisses the young Blue, infecting her with Red's own agency biology.
Yes, such a reveal.
Red was the enemy action. Blue remembered all those centuries ago. Red gives her the mechanical immunity to the poison that will save her life millennia later in that apothecary shop.
It all comes full circle.
I mean, conceptually it is staggering. But I need you to break down the mechanics of this for me, because my brain is tying itself in knots.
Let's do it.
How does Red jumping off a cliff and going to Strand 141 fix a death that just happened? Like, if Blue already ate the berries and died, isn't infecting her in the past just a massive timeline-breaking time paradox?
Well, if you are looking at time strictly as a linear progression, like a straight line from point A to point B, then yes, it seems impossible. But remember, in this war, time is a braid. The paradox isn't a mistake. The paradox is the weapon. What we are seeing here is a closed-loop bootstrap paradox.
Meaning, like, the cause and the effect are just a circle.
Exactly. Red isn't changing history. She is fulfilling it.
Wow.
Red realizes that they have been shaping each other since the very beginning of their lives. The mysterious enemy that severed Blue from the hive mind as a child, giving her that defining hunger.
It was always Red.
It was always Red.
Yeah.
Blue survived the poison in the Elizabethan apothecary shop because Red went back to Strand 141 to give her the immunity. Red's grief in the future causes the rescue mission in the past, which ensures Blue's survival in the present.
So Blue's body in the shop only looked dead because her agency-modified biology was fighting off the Garden-targeted poison.
Precisely. Their love literally rewrote the rules of their biology.
That is just incredible.
Because they spent millennia intertwining their lives through those letters, they became the architects of their own survival. They used the very mechanics of the time war to build a closed causal loop that neither the Commandant nor Garden could break.
It is a breathtaking piece of sci-fi engineering. And stepping back, I think there is such a profound application of this for you listening right now.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we aren't fighting a multidimensional time war.
Yeah.
But we live in a reality saturated with algorithms, societal pressures, and cultural factions that are constantly trying to push us into strict boxes.
We really do.
There is this relentless pressure to conform, to pick a side, to align with the hive mind or the machine. And Red and Blue's story is this incredibly vivid reminder of how radical, how genuinely liberating it is to refuse that programming.
Yes.
To choose genuine, messy human connection over the faction you are assigned to. To look at someone across the aisle and say, I see you, not as the enemy, but as my context.
And that human connection is the only thing that actually survives the war, which leads directly to the resolution of the novella.
Right.
After Red jumps back and infects young Blue, she is eventually captured by her Commandant. She is thrown into a gray cell, stripped of her privileges, fully expecting to be disassembled for parts.
Which is pretty standard for the agency.
Right. But as she sits there, a guard slips her a letter. It's from Blue.
Blue survived the apothecary shop.
She did. Her hybrid biology saved her, just as Red planned. And in her final letter, Blue makes a proposal that completely redefines their existence.
What does she propose?
She doesn't suggest they run away to some hidden corner of the timeline. She doesn't suggest Red defect to Garden or that she defects to the agency. She proposes that they defect to each other.
Wow, she talks about taking the separate strands of their factions and bending them. Bending the fork into a double helix.
Yes, intertwining their lives.
Intertwining their lives to build a bridge between their worlds and holding it against anyone who tries to tear it down.
Throughout the entire text, the agency and Garden are obsessed with one singular goal: winning the Time War.
Right, dominating the timeline.
They want to completely dominate the braid of history, to erase the other side from existence. But Red and Blue realize a fundamental philosophical truth about systems designed for perpetual conflict.
What's that?
When a game is rigged to force you into an endless zero-sum war, the only true way to win is to refuse to play.
The ultimate victory isn't conquering the universe, because conquering the universe just leaves you alone with the ashes.
Exactly. The ultimate victory is carving out a tiny shared space, a quiet garden that the universe and the war cannot touch. It is the realization that intimacy is the ultimate act of rebellion.
The space where they can just sit and drink tea and read the books about birds they spent lifetimes trying to understand.
It really is a masterpiece of a story.
It is. Well, that brings us to the end of our journey today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the braid. We started out talking about maps and front lines, and how wars usually have clear boundaries dictating who the enemy is. But I think what Red and Blue show us is that the most important territory isn't drawn on any general's map.
It really isn't.
The only territory worth fighting for, the only timeline worth saving, is the space you make for someone else. We hope this gave you something incredible to think about. Until next time.